At the end of this video, you're going to know everything you need to know about salt in regards to preserving and storing of meat. The terminologies of the different types of salt. You're going to know all about kosher salt, Himalayan pink rock salt, table salt, all the terminologies from the different countries. You guys are going to know absolutely everything about salt. Himalayan pink salt. Himalayan pink salt doesn't come from the Himalayas. It comes from Pakistan. As long as people have been recording history, salt has been used to preserve and store food. Change the location. So, how does the salt preserve the meat? How does the salt stop the meat from going rotten? It's quite simple. The salt absorbs the moisture out of the cells of the bacteria and the mould, which makes the meat go rotten. So it just kills that, and then the meat just stays preserved. Table salt is just a finer version of cooking salt. Cooking salt is slightly coarser, and then you go up to another level of salt that people use in abattoirs for storing skins, rubbing on the flesh side of skins when they're being removed from the animal. When you're preserving meat and you're looking it up and you're studying it and you're trying to find out all about it, whether it's making sausages, salamis, things like that, or prosciutto, you'll come across a term called kosher salt. Now, it's very simple. Kosher salt is a North American, that's USA, term for table salt with no additives. Now, it's got a religious context. That doesn't concern us here. It's just simple table salt with no additives. And when you talk about additives, we're mainly talking about iodine. Iodine is added to salt for a couple of reasons. The main reason is to prevent problems with goiter and iodine deficiency. The authorities in the past have decided we'll add iodine to salt, and then the population and the community will get enough iodine and prevent a lot of problems. The problems are mainly thyroid related and also intellectual disability. The thyroid related problems are goiters, which are big growths around the thyroid gland, and eye problems such as Marty Feldman, which most people would know is a great comedian. He never had his particular eye thing looking in a couple of directions until about his 30s when he had a thyroid problem, and that particular look developed in him. That's typical of the thyroid problems, those bulging eyes. Marty Feldman was a good comedian before he had his eye problem, and of course when he got the eye problem that made him, we won't even go into that. He's just a good comedian, full stop. That's why iodine is added to salt, no other reason. There's two different things here I'm discussing: storing meat in salt and preserving meat with salt. Storing meat in salt means getting chunks of meat, putting them in a container and covering them with salt. And that meat won't go off for a long, long time. Preserving meat with salt is a different thing, it's more refined. That's like the salamis and prosciuttos and that type of making meat last a long time with special flavours and that type of thing. That's preserving meat with salt. Storing meat in salt is just cutting up chunks of meat or fish, putting it in a barrel with a lot of salt around it, and that will stop it going off and you don't need refrigeration. And that's what this experiment that I did has proven, because I couldn't find any reference to it. I knew it from old people telling me, but when I went looking on the net and that, there was no reference to storing meat in salt. Yet I knew the sailors did it when the sailing ships, I knew the farmers in the outback Australia did it when there was no refrigeration, but there was nothing documented that I could find. So I tried the experiment and I found out, yeah, you can just put the meat in the salt, cover it up. How big are pieces of meat? I haven't experimented on that yet. Iodine and salt. I've stored meat in salt with iodine in it. I could not notice any disadvantage. Some people will say you shouldn't do it, but they can't really give a reason. Himalayan pink salt. It's salt with impurities, which makes it go pink. So it's a contaminated product. That's a good marketing thing. Himalayan pink salt's better for you. It's a contaminated salt. It's contaminated with impurities, and the marketing people have called it Himalayan pink salt, and as you can see all over the world now, it's become trendy to get Himalayan pink salt. In Pakistan, there's mountains, literally mountain ranges of solid salt. Or your off-gridders, if you're just storing skins, you can just use any sort of salt. Cooking salt is about the cheapest. It's about nothing, $1 a kilogram, $1 for 5 kilograms. Depends on how big a bag you buy. Just use that. That'll last years and years on the skin. Salt that people use for in abattoirs for storing skins, rubbing on the flesh side of skins when they're being removed from the animal. That salt from the abattoirs sometimes has other additives to stop bugs too, so maybe borax. So you don't want to be using that abattoir salt to store your meat in. It's mainly especially for skins. Okay, that's about it. You know everything about salt. What's your questions? Put them below. Any questions? Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll put some links at the end that are very interesting to read, continuing about salt, which is a simple subject, but it's a lot of stuff you should know. How you going, fellas? Give us a like, give us a thumbs up, give us a share, subscribe. YouTube doesn't take you seriously unless you've got 1,000 subscribers. I've got a miserable 119 subscribers. Chuck yours on there, please. Try and help me get up to 1,000. I know it's a big ask. Catch us. Have a good day wherever you are.